first speaker of this afternoon is someone who I have seen speak only one other time, and it was 6 years ago, maybe seven years ago, and she was fantastic then, so I'm sure she's going to be fantastic now. I didn't do the welcome onto the stage because of the high heel situation and the carpets here. She's already made her way onto the stage, but please join me in welcoming Stefanie Palomino to the stage.
Yeah, you doesn't wonder that Stephanie Hoffman didn't make it today, but I just got married, and I'm basically in a rebranding phase. So yeah, so that's me. It was me. It's me. But still, when I pick up the phone, I still say Hoffman. So I have really to work on myself. So yeah, that's Stephanie in numbers, and actually, I'm very long in the mobile space. I started actually 10 years ago, and I did a lot of different stuff. And here the download numbers are only from the apps basically I did for myself, and I did a lot of apps for big brands also, so the number is much, much bigger. And today I do something emotionally for me very difficult. I step really out of my comfort zone. My normal speech looks like that: look into the future, look where we are now, how to get there, damn, 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 damn. That's it. I do this since 10 years when I give a speech, always works, very easy. So today I do something different. I was talking to my husband, and actually now we are married, he thinks he has more right to say something. And so he said, okay, Stephanie, you have to talk about something you really care about, you're really emotionally touched by. And I said, okay, I love mobile, you know, that's the thing that's really touching me, is something drives me. But okay, what's more behind it? And so I invite you to a little time travel with me on my journey in mobile, a couple of minutes before we get to the point. So where I come from, 2006, I started, with friends from university, a crazy app called Akaaki, and what we did was basically a pre-Grindr. You all know Grindr, or Tinder for the heterosexual people. But what we wanted to do, basically, yeah, that's me 10 years ago. It's like we wanted to bring people closer together with the same interests. So the idea was really, I want to go out and maybe I find someone I can talk about Tom Waits with by accident. So bringing people with same interests together. The only thing what we didn't know, the same interest, was having sex in the park. And so we ended up to be a Grindr. Yeah. So our French investors, we had a friend, France Telecom, as an investor also, and they really didn't approve so much when they say all the pictures from specific body parts. And in this time, Apple didn't like body parts neither, so we had to delete it one by ourselves. Everyone in the office had to delete 1 hour naked pictures. It's very nice. I'm still traumatized. So, okay, what happens next? So, actually, with the dating, I was really deciding I don't want to do it. I don't want to be in this business. This is not something drives me. This is not what I was envisioning when I started it. So the next thing I was getting into was making a social, location-based mobile game. And I was so excited by this whole social gaming that I was even writing my master's thesis about it. And for that, I was experimenting with my mom. She was very helpful, so I put her onto a Facebook game and saw how she was getting addicted, and played 2 hours a day. And it was really fascinating on my mom. I was seeing, okay, what is the good things about it? What are the bad things about it? Good things was she started to play with people she was getting in school with, and she didn't talk over 10 years with. The bad thing was the 2 hours in her time. And then I asked her, what do you have done before? And then she said, you know what? It's not what I don't do now, it's more what I'm parallel doing now. So she was basically watching TV at the same time, playing social games, and having on her mobile phone another game running. So there were a lot of learnings I made in this period, and one thing was that everything has his capacity. A screen size, so how big a social city you can grow. There's a moment, it's so big you cannot have an overview anymore, you don't want to do it anymore. And there is a time spot people want to give their attention to you, and this is extremely limited to you. And this is in social games, it's funny-wise, it's an average 2 hours. When it takes longer than 2 hours, people going and leaving your game. So there are these fundamental rules of behaviors, and you really see them not really in the data. this is really a part where you have to talk to people and where you get to what you mean to them. So the next step, what I did is basically I cured myself. I was getting on a social media addiction. And so we invented an app called Gabi, who basically helps you to filter your Facebook feed and get less out of it. So minimizing the noise and actually get out of it what matters most. We were huge successful until Facebook switched it off. They really were not so happy with it. But it worked extremely well, and this was extremely pretty. So now my newest venture, so I founded with 2 other women together a company, and we do digital consulting, but we also do female leadership trainings, because I figured I was for a long time in a business where I was basically always the only woman. 2006, you can imagine, there were not so many female CEOs in mobile. And I want to give back a little bit of my experience, and this is one thing I'm doing. And then it's coming more and more to the passion topic. So also what I'm up to now is 3 years ago, I started to learn to be a Tai Chi teacher. So what all has this to do with technology? So actually, I created a monster. The monster was my phone and my phone software, and I was constantly connected to it. And what was the result of it was I lost the connection to myself. So constantly connected to everyone, to the brands, to everything, losing the connection to myself. So cure, going to India, doing some meditation, learning to be a Tai Chi teacher. Works out pretty awesome. And funny-wise, I saw a symptom is symptomatically for our whole society. It's the companies have the problem, the end consumers have the problem. We are in a constant change. And I can tell you, I really love change. I'm constantly changing, I'm always trying to be the first as doing something, trying something out. But we live in a new world, and this change we see now is nothing. It's just the beginning. So the question is how we react on this change. And there's this beautiful windmill theory my friend Jonathan McDonald's always is using. It's like there are 2 ways of reacting on change. It's like neither you build a wall or you create windmills. So that's the question what you're doing. You're like making a defense or you try to work on the solutions. So every area is like touched now by the change. And a lot of clients I'm working with coming now from still like material goods and trying now to get into mobile. And for them, it's crazy, you know? They just made maybe the step to websites and now mobile, oh my God, another thing to do. And it's like, yeah, you know what? You cannot think in change anymore for change projects or change management. This is kind of over. The whole system is constantly changing. And this is just the beginning. When you look at the numbers, so costs going down, amounts of users you can get are higher, subscriptions are growing, traffic is growing like crazy, mobile video is exploding. Everyone wants to see his videos when he just like wake up or falls asleep. So we're just in the beginning. And what this means, we create so many apps are getting into the App Store every day. That means we are creating actually altogether a lot of noise. And this is a good question, how you can stand out when everyone is like sending you push notifications like crazy. Here's a notification, there's a notification. Everyone basically wants your attention. And that's very good because we sit in the same boat, the brands, the companies, and the consumers. And we all have to think about what is their solution, because only a few of you guys gets really the attention in the end of the day. And when we look what we want even more. We want more attention. We want to be the consumer's best friend. We want to be like a Siri or like a more advanced Siri even, who is like making your orders. This is a Facebook M version, but everyone is working on this personal assistant who is like basically being your next best friend and tries to be human. And we want to be, of course, we want to be the interface close to everything. So when you look at WeChat, it's amazing. You can grab a cab, or you can make your payments, or even in China, you can do all your political stuff. You sign up where you live now. It's really the interface to everything. And Facebook, of course, I want even more. When you have seen this picture from the Mobile World Congress, everyone was sitting there with their virtual reality glasses. It's, yeah, we want to immerse the consumer completely in the world. So what we're doing here, we are creating more noise, but we scream at the same time. You know, we keep on screaming, even we are not able to hear anything anymore. So when we think about the entity as coming with the people, that means we have a responsibility. We have the responsibility to create actually something that's more meaningful. So basically we have to face the change. This is the first thing. It's like we have to acknowledge that, and we have to acknowledge the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is we all want the attention from the users, but it gets louder and louder. So what is the problem here with the change and the word by itself? It has two dimensions. On the one hand, we really love new stuff. Like in games, you see that. You love a new game. You want to try it. You spend some time with it. But on the other hand, we hate new stuff. We don't want to change. It's deep in our psychology programming when we are born in this world. It's like you decide literally always for something you already known before when it comes into a stress situation, and actually most of your decisions, you go back to this what you have done before or you made before. To change a person and his habits is hilariously different. Talk to therapists, it's a big challenge. So we have these two dimensions of change. On the one hand, we love it. On the other hand, we hate it. So what is something we can do to live in this new world of constant change? So one thing is, what I did, actually personally did, is I was taking myself off and give myself some space to think and see, okay, how I can grow again and reconnect to myself to be a better professional and also being a better product maker. Because I don't want to make more and more and more and more noise without having a deeper sense in it. And the great thing here is there are some things don't change. And what is that? It's like basically inside of ourselves, we want that someone solves our problems. We want to be acknowledged as a person. We want to be treated respectfully. And we want that someone is not throwing advertising after us. So I studied advertising, yeah? So I'm the first advertiser. But the idea in the beginning of Aki, the vision we started with was when someone is constantly connected to us and we know so much more about them, and like what Alex said, how we can actually give them valuable information. And we don't call it advertising, we call it really valuable information, and solve his problem in his day. And the technology, funny-wise, we already did things like Starbucks and the beacon things already in 2008, was pretty working very well. We were managing VIP queues for parties through our app. And we were communicating with people in line through proximity service. Actually, it was Bluetooth also, but there were not so many iPhones in this time. So some things don't change. So I also mean the Maslow pyramid. You have to see what's really the consumer needs on the bottom. And one need will come very soon is this reconnecting to yourself and less noise. The avant-garde of mobile people start to switch off their mobile phones. When you go to conferences and when you talk with the high-tech people, they all start meditating and saying, oh, I need the digital time off. So we have to face that and what means that for our products and our communication, our marketing in the end of the day. So I like much more this picture. It's like the fluid will be the new normal. That means this word change will not exist anymore. Change is the new normal. And this fluid, what I mean with this is when you are connected more to yourself and to your product is more connected to your purpose and your business purpose, then you can easily change. And also you need the space. So what I said before, you need space, and that means you have to give out responsibility to other people to be able to go through that. Oh, wait. I really love that. So what we have to do in the end of the day is creating more meaning and meaning for the users. What I mean with meaning is actually values. It's like we have to look at their values and we have to understand what I can do to increase the meaning and the purpose of what I'm doing. So how to do that? So this is a very old sentence. I say, I think since 7 years or 8 years actually. The product is, and this comes out of my time in university studying being an advertiser. The product is the most important part of the communication. The product, and more digitally, is the fundament. You can do whatever you want in the end with mobile ads. When your product sucks, it sucks. So the question here is, who is responsible for the product? And in a lot of companies where I look inside is the tech people. There are often more tech people are product heads than more marketing people are product heads. And it's very funny because it's the artistic way what we talked about today. It's like you need to be creative to make a product. And marketing people are not only the Excel people, and now looking at ad campaigns, they also should be much more being head of product than technical people. Because when you start the product, and I like what Claire was showing in the morning, it's like how to develop a product, this process. This is actually should be a strategic process as being part of marketing and not in the technical part of the whole system. And I know that in a lot of companies this fight is now going on. That the tech people say, I decide the features and I know how it's going on, and marketing people, yeah, there's a list and they can vote here and there. I would say it should be the opposite. I would say the marketing people should take over. Neither, at least, they should be tandems and work together on common goals. And I think this is one fundament will change. 5 more here. Great. So this is a thing I love to keep in mind. It's like the thought, so the way of thinking we have to fundamentally change, because our thoughts and our ideas will in the end up in our destiny. And I think, again, Claire in the morning, she was showing very clearly, it's like when you come up with a great idea, you can really change your path and the path of your company. So a couple of tips from my side how I tackle that is like I really try always to be in love with my users in a kind of like transferred way. It's like trying, what means is you're in love with someone. You really take care of him. You want to see what he's wishing, even he doesn't know it by himself. So it doesn't help to ask the users all the time what they want, is sit down and think differently. Think about what could make his life better. I like the Shell examples, was about like thinking about how to make the life of your user better, and then figure out if they really want it. But think about it. Don't go and ask them all the time. They will not tell you what is the next iPhone. And then fight for the users, and this is for all the marketing people in the room, and you have to fight for them against the tech people who wants to make any feature because it's new fancy technology or it's easier to develop or whatever happens. You have to fight against this. So one thing is also a mindset change is when you are making products, you have to think like a scientist. And I think the scientific way of thinking is you have a hypothesis, you try it out, you test, and you see if it's true what you were thinking it is. And then when it's not true, you know, but I'm one step ahead on the path of where I want to go. And when we have this mindset, the word failure will not exist anymore. It's only a path, and we all have to see how we come to the conclusion and we bring more purpose to the people and more meaning. I think it's time, it's close to be over, or? Yeah, so I'm hurry up. I think this is not so important. I think one thing I really want to stretch, actually, is the surround yourself with experts. A lot of IT or marketing problems in mobile, what I see, it's like a lot of people work on one product. A lot of people are involved in decision-making processes. I think they are great guys, actually. But what you have to do is you have to find a team of experts when you want to really do something brilliant. The iPhone was not made by a team of average people. So eliminate the average. The worst thing here, what you can have in a tech team, for example, is the average developer. A bad developer you can recognize quickly, it's no problem. The average one is hiding, and you keep him forever, and he destroys the whole product. So don't do the average people thing. And the last thing before I want to wrap up, and it's like because I'm a communication person and telling the story is like still tech is not fancy enough. We can do all much better. We can be more creative and we can be more funny, exciting, and stepping out of our comfort zone. We don't need to be boring. It's not tech anymore. It's a lifestyle. We are creating experiences. We have to step out of our comfort zone. So yeah, that's a little overview, but thank you so much for listening.
So will we have any questions from the audience, or am I allowed to ask all the questions? Anybody wants to raise their hand if you want a question? Okay. So I love the fact that for this conference we have some contrary points of view to that. I think when you come to these presentations, you're often expecting it just to be pro-mobile and everybody should go and do this. But the things that really struck me are what you're saying is that if everybody wants attention, you're just creating more and more noise.
Yeah.
So that if you want to create anything that kind of resonates with the individual, as I would put it, rather than the consumer, then you have to understand them first and think what you can solve for them. That's quite a challenge, though, yeah, for these. And you also said you have to eliminate the average. So a lot of the things you're talking about kind of sound great in the abstract, but how many businesses can really put that kind of thinking in place when they're so driven by this month, this quarter, this year's financial results?
It's very interesting. It's actually a fundamental problem. So often this kind of speech is more like a CEO big speech, you know, because yes, there it starts. And I think we had a very fantastic conversation in the morning about how you structure your company, and I was very impressed. It's basically it's a purpose, it's basically the people and the processes where you have to think about when you construct your company. And when you think you have a purpose to create a company is great for the people work in it, and then you say, okay, the people are the most important thing, and then you make processes are making the people possible to act on what they can do best. Then you can be fluid, and then you can create amazing products. What you have a problem is when you have quarter numbers and you say, who wants to be next in management director board? Yeah. Like has to have some fancy management board projects, have no KPIs for them, and waste like tons of money because someone has to have a check mark on his bonus system. Then you're really screwed. Yeah. And this is the problem. What we face in the moment is that the big companies and their structures are failing in these structures, how I give someone bonuses, how I manage in this chunks and don't give them the space to really create something great.
Fantastic. So you're kind of giving us a nice segue to the afternoon panel, which yeah, is how do big companies and small companies look at innovation? How do they bring innovation into their business, which is yeah, part of what you're talking about. The other thing that really struck me that you said that I like is think like a scientist. Yeah. Because actually they don't deal in failure, they just deal in testing and testing and testing and testing, and then peer testing and making sure that something works. They view it as 99 ways not to do something before they find the 100th way to do it. But they're super creative, you know. I think it's the same what we said. They are making their hypothesis. They are getting bold. The bold thing is making the hypothesis and believe something could be, and yeah, then looking in this direction and focus. So I was overstepping one slide. So when you find your purpose, you really have to focus a lot. Because the problem is what we often do the problem is websites, yeah? The biggest problem is a website. When you look, millions of buttons, you have thousands of choices, and then I see who someone is clicking. This is horrible. So when I see what Lufthansa did from their website now to their watch application, mm-hmm, funny-wise, the form was pushing them now to come to the perfect functionality. It's like what I want to do in a specific time before I'm going on the plane. It's like the minutes before I want to go on the plane, I want to have quick access to my boarding card, you know? Yes. So through the form factor, they're coming to a great experience. But we don't need this pressure. We can do this without the pressure, you know, of the form. We can think constantly on that. And I don't understand why websites are still with millions of buttons. I don't understand why they don't learn from mobile and remove remove everything down to what the user actually wants. Yeah, it's like it's so simple, actually. Yeah. We could keep going for ages, but please join me in thanking Mrs. Palomino for her presentation. Thank you. Do you want a... yeah.